After the wither storm and the death of the pet pig Reuben, all the Minecraft lads went their separate ways. 15 years later, Jesse encounters a new threat. Realizing he was outmatched, Jesse goes out on search for the legendary Hero Steve to help him face off Herobrine. Jesse travels through most biomes, deserts, jungles, plains, and tundra. Finally, Jesse comes across something. What is that? Is it a pig? Oh no, it is a building. What? A retirement home. Jesse enters the retirement home to find Steve the Legend backwards on the toilet, having a munch. After explaining the situation to Steve, they start training, which might take a while since he's a lot older now than he was in his glory days. And speaking of glory, let me tell you in detail what Steve was doing back there on the toilet. So basically, someone cut out a hole. Steve complains about having to train but is interested on if he can enchant needles. Jesse tells Steve that it is time to fight the big one, Herobrine. Steve is confused. He thought Jesse said heroin. Herobrine attacks Steve. Steve is really scared, so he screams, "Oh no!" Then shits himself. Literally. Then dies. Paul Goodman lives a grey life, but his world is about to get a whole lot dimmer. His daily routine doesn't change much with his same old commute to work. Paul just doesn't enjoy life anymore and is starting to feel less like a man and more like a cog in a machine. But all that changes when his attention is caught by a suspicious figure who reveals his balls, his meatballs. A trio of ravenous weapon-carrying meatballs reveal themselves, followed by a message shown to all of mankind.
Your meat is scarce, so the one called Ballenheimer resorted to using human meat to save the meatball industry. This man created these balls in honor of me, but his attempt to devour such a marvel has led me to fill these balls with souls of the damned, and they will not rest until your entire planet becomes one big meatball.
With a message like that playing in everyone's mind, it's no wonder the world fell into chaos. However, with this revelation of the apocalypse, Paul Goodman was no longer shackled by society and was free to do as he pleases. He could even go on a rampage trying to save his wife, who the meatballs have held captive. Or perhaps not. Paul is finally living the life he always desired, free from responsibility and his nagging wife. I suppose one man's dystopia is another man's utopia. However, Paul Goodman still has ball cancer, but that wouldn't be the cause of his demise. No, his end is far more gruesome, as you see the meatballs he was eating were rather dodgy, which gave him explosive diarrhea, causing him to, well, you know, explode. The story of the Black Unicorn starts like most, being born. The Black Unicorn was different to most unicorns, including the parents. The dad suddenly remembered that he only came back from the Goblin Wars 7 months ago and questioned his son's appearance. The mum explained that it must be because of the devil, so the dad took the child and tossed it aside to never think of him again. Years pass and the Black Unicorn remains all alone, neglected by the others. Hatred for the unicorns around him starts to burn up inside, but much brighter is his hatred for the devil, who he now seeks to kill for being a homewrecker from impregnating his mum during the Goblin Wars. On his journey to hell, the Black Unicorn encounters other outcasts like himself. Dicismo, a gnome with great aim, AIDS, great AIDS, and other such diseases. One touch from him will lead to certain death, from which disease specifically is unknown. The Black Unicorn and the 3 others fight their way through hell until they're met with an army of indestructible shadowy figures. Luckily, Dicismo is still able to infect them all, which he does very quickly, and the army all explode. The end. is what I wish I could say, because what they face now is their greatest threat yet. Firstborn child of the devil, the hentai unicorn. How will they defeat this tentacly foe? Well, with help from none other than the deep. The year is 2020, and there are two people in suits knocking on the door of Baltershite. The two people reveal themselves to work for a company called Time Warp, and were there to inform Balter of the loss of his former colleague, Paul Goodman, who was reported to be a victim of the meatball pandemic. This news was devastating for Balter, as he had placed bets that the ball cancer would kill him first, but either way, he had lost his best friend, which left him broken, causing him never to go outside again, even after it was considered safe to do so. Balter saw no point in coming out to a world without Paul Goodman, but all that might change when his neighbour Jesse Penisman shows up at his door to make him watch the highly anticipated Mineshaft movie. Balter shuts the door on his face time and time again, until eventually he gives in and watches it with him. Maybe this movie that people were so excited to see could help him move on from the loss of his friend and could finally have joy back in his life.
Jesse tells Steve that it is time to fight the big one. Herobrine. Steve is confused. He thought Jesse said heroin.
He hated it. Was this all life had to offer? Mediocrity. Well, Balter had enough. He cursed out humanity and locked himself away from it all. Baltershite had become a misanthrope. Years of wallowing in sorrow later, Baltershite has taken the shape of a ball. His older brother Gus, just Gus, looks at Balter in disgust and tells him,
"Everything you thought had meaning. Every hope, dream, or moment of happiness. None of it matters. As you lie a blob of pity on a couch, none of it changes. When a demon-possessed meatball eats you alive. We all die. Does that mean our lives are meaningless? Does that mean that there was no point in being born? Would you say that of your slain friend? About Paul Goodman? Was his life meaningless? It was not. His memory serves an example to us all, the greatest, the anguished. Paul Goodman's life has meaning because we the living refuse to forget him. And as you choke on that chicken bone, you remember how Paul Goodman died. Because he did not die weak. He died fighting the demons of this world. Now go out and do the same. My brother pushes forward. My brother screams out. My brother rages at those who stole his friend's life. Now go out and gobble some balls."
Motivated by his words, Balter storms outside eating every meatball in sight to avenge his friend, but unknown to him was that this is exactly how Paul Goodman died. Baltershite awakes to a hand helping him up. It's none other than Paul Goodman, who is among a group of unicorns and one weird-looking human. Paul Goodman explains everything, how he had met them before when he travelled to the future. When working for Time Warp, that disease, Mo is the last surviving human of the meatball pandemic, who also slapped his nuts, giving him ball cancer, and how the black unicorn is going back in time to kill the devil before he created the meatball pandemic, stopping the dawn of mystical beings which would erase the unicorns that shunned him all his life from existence. All this and more in Season 2 of Misanthrope. Shit!